Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about anti-blackness in Asian community, right? So this woman actually, said that there is so much anti-blackness, not just only in Asian community but worldwide. And she went further to explain how her grandmother, right, was that came from Korea. Was telling her how harmful and bad black people are, not until she took her time to educate her on how that she goes to school with black people and there is nothing wrong with black people and all of that. So you can imagine so many people with that kind of mindset all over, spreading this kind of hatred towards people that look like me, right? And then this second video is talking about how America is not wanting to give free universal basic health care. Why? Because they are scared that black people are also going to benefit from it, and not just benefiting from it, probably overuse it or abuse it. I think that is the right word, abuse it. And I am asking, how do people abuse universal basic health care? I mean, this is something that will benefit black people and at the same time benefit palm colored people. So how? Let's get into this.
Question. This actually is a serious question. Why don't you like us black people? Non-American Asians always gave me the cold shoulder. American Asians were cool and I often hang out with them. Are they just not used to us?
Partially.
Sad to say, but I know that there's anti-blackness very much so in a lot of Asian American communities. And obviously, unfortunately, anti-blackness is global. And I think
It's a very long historical answer.
Yeah.
Some of it has to do with not being used to it. Okay, so colonization happened throughout the whole world when white colonizers took over Asia, Africa, all the other continents. And with that came the belief of anti-blackness that was instilled upon all of these communities. Now, once those colonizations ended, you were left with this homogenized community where they don't know anyone who don't look like they're all white, all Asian, all South Asian, whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden you fast forward to having technology and Western media, because again, controlled by whiteness, is pushing out this message of that black communities are gangsters, do this, they do that. And then that media gets pushed out into the world in the form of movies and TV shows. And now you take this homogenized community who has learned anti-blackness through colonization and stuff like that, on top of the fact that it's then mixed with people who are learning about these races for the first time through fictionized television that is controlled by white media. And then you have this biased look. So when they meet black people for the first time, they're having to reconcile what they have been essentially brainwashed into thinking versus then trying to figure out what that means when they meet you and they're like, but you're not any of these things. Which is the reason why you get a lot of people from Asia who are having to go through that discovery, and Asian Americans who grew up with that and know that those are things that are essentially propaganda, mind washing, to keep upholding this idea of, and instead of using the WS word, I'm going to say anti-blackness, because one is,
hand in hand,
and they push this anti-blackness, then it's basically global propaganda. So then people are trying to, come to those terms, and instead of just being hateful, they may just not understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that's like the short end of it.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing to contribute. That was very concise. A lot of people are just conditioned to believe that black people are whatever the conditioner wants you to believe they are. And, like my grandma, she the only black people she had ever seen were American soldiers in Korea. And to her, they were all part of the same group. And then when she came to America, all she knew about black people was, like you said, what she had seen on TV, what people had told her. And so she was very distrusting of black people. And I was like, how Black people are just like everybody else. Like, you know, I go to school with Black kids, like, you know, and she's just like, oh no, you know, they're very dangerous. I'm like, they're not. They're not. This is just what people wanted you to believe. But, you know, what else did she know? You know what I mean? She's just this, like, you know, country girl from, you know, uneducated, and is told by everybody in power what to believe. You know, my God is better. My people are better. My guns are better. My, you know, so she's like, okay, well, all of these things are better. So I better side with the better side.
The reason, folks, right now, the reason we have no safety net in this country relative to those nations that we like to compare ourselves to is precisely because of the racial resentment that says we don't want those people getting over. There was actually a study done on healthcare internationally. They found the single biggest factor to explain why the United States does not have universal healthcare relative to Western industrialized nations. They figured out all these different elements. And they did what they call the regression analysis, big social science term, where they control for all these different factors. They found the single biggest correlated factor with the opposition to universal healthcare in this country was the belief that Black folk would abuse the program. So now you got millions of white folk without health care, but by God, at least those Black folks aren't getting over. This is what W.E.B. Du Bois called the psychological wage of whiteness. Right? It doesn't pay your bills, but psychologically it tells you, well, I might not have much, but at least I'm not Black. At least I'm not brown. At least I'm not red. At least I'm not a person of color. But see, at the end of the day, that doesn't put your kid through college. It doesn't pay the emergency room bills, and it doesn't pay your house note. We've got to be willing to have this conversation. Sadly, as a country, we're running away from it. Trying to downplay the issue of race, trying to talk about class in a vacuum to try to bring everybody on board, afraid that if we talk about race, working class white folks will bolt from any progressive movement. But what working class white folks got to understand is the very reason that they're hurting. The very reason that they're so disempowered is because of racial inequity. In other words, they were not the targets of it. To be sure, people of color were, but those of us who are white become, over time, the collateral damage of a system of white supremacy and racial inequity. So we need to be clear on it.
So stop me if this sounds familiar, but a white father and son chase down a Black man that they say does not belong in their neighborhood with guns and fire at him. That is exactly what happened to 24-year-old DeMontrello Gibson in Brookhaven, Mississippi on January the 24th while he was delivering packages for his job with FedEx. So this racist dynamic duel of 35-year-old Brandon Case and another Gregory, his 58-year-old father Gregory Case, were finally arrested on February the 1st in connection with the shooting. Were they charged with attempted murder? Of course not. Brandon was charged with attempted aggravated assault, and his father was charged with conspiracy to commit aggravated assault. Their bonds were $150,000 and $75,000 respectively. And just think, once Mississippi gave me a $500,000 bond, and I hadn't even attempted to assault anybody or attempted to murder anyone. But I digress. Oh look, here's one of the bullet holes caused by the 5 shots that Brandon Case fired into the van that DeMontre was making his FedEx deliveries in. But let's add insult to injury. FedEx released the following statement, and you can pause and read, but it said the safety of our team members is our top priority, and we remain focused upon his well-being. We will continue to support Mr. Gibson as we cooperate with investigating authorities. Yeah, that sounds great, right? But not only was Mr. Gibson placed back on the exact same route the next day, even before any arrests were made in this case, FedEx has now placed him on administrative leave. Did I mention it's without pay? I guess if he would have been a cop and he would have killed a Black man, he would have been on administrative leave with pay. But yeah, he's on administrative leave without pay. So if you were so inclined to contact FedEx and ask them why Mr. Gibson was placed on unpaid administrative leave when he was the victim.
Have you all seen the viral video of the 3 little girls in Sephora that are using the testers to do blackface? In the video, one of the associates that's working with one of the brands in Sephora confronted the mother and the daughter because she caught the mother in the act of taking a picture of the daughter with the blackface. Here's the video.
This is so wild. I'm so sorry. This is so shameful. This is so shameful. Like,
I don't know if you could hear it, but the associate was telling the mother that basically she'll be all over social media. Yeah, and that will affect her schooling. That will affect her being able to get jobs in the future. And that's when the mother walked off, leaving her child there alone. Why did you walk off, Mom? Did you walk off because you didn't want to be noticed? Well, we noticed. That could have been a perfect opportunity for Mom to take some responsibility and use that opportunity to educate her daughter in how wrong it is to do blackface. But no, she'd rather not deal. She'd rather walk away. She walked away, leaving her daughter to go back over to her friends to continue being funny and doing blackface. Listen up, white people. I know that you guys are in your feelings and you're feeling guilty because we are in this age where we are going to point out your racism and we are going to hold you accountable for it. We are in an age where Black history is being taught regardless if you want to learn about it. And the Black history that's being taught out here in these social media streets is true Black history. It's not whitewashed, it's not sugar-coated. And you're having a problem with that, which is why you want to ban Black history in schools. You want to ban Black history in schools because you all want to be viewed as the white savior, as the good guy, and not the oppressors that you are. You all can move to ban all of the Black history. Black history will still be taught. True Black history will still be taught. For as long as there's social media platforms, Black history will be taught uncensored. And for as long as your children are on social media, they will learn it. Not whitewashed, not sugar-coated. And if you want to bury your head in the sand and use the excuse that your children are too young to learn about racism when our children have to deal with racism from the time that they can walk, your children will continuously be held accountable. And that shows me the lack of parenting skills that you have. Because any good parent would want to arm their children with the tools necessary to be successful in this society. And if you aren't teaching your children about Black history and about how to not be racist, then you are setting them up to go out into this society doing the things that they see you do, saying the things that they've heard you say out in public. That's racist. And I guarantee you, if they do that shit out in public, they will be held accountable. Society will teach them, and they will learn the hard way. Because I guarantee you, Mom, you buried your head in the sand and walked away. The internet is actively looking to find out who you are. And by finding out who you are, they will find out who your daughter is. And by way of the daughter, they'll find out who the friends are. And you all will be held accountable. You will deal with the consequences of your actions. And that's a period.
So this is all I got from this video, and I am really very much ashamed, like, that some mothers are not even qualified to be mothers, And looking, I don't know how some people act, but it's very shameful that that woman actually stood with her daughter and watched her daughter paint her face. And then when she found out that it might be hard for that child to, like, progress in school or maybe getting job and all that, she ran away. Like Sister Tabitha said, that would have been a great opportunity for her to teach her daughter not to do some certain things. But no, she ran away. And I really hope that karma get them, like hold them. Because I have seen so many Karens who thought it was all joke and all that, tried to, like, being on Black people's way and ended up being on social media. Some lost their job years back. Until this very moment, they still scream that they've not been able to get something meaningful or something useful. I want some people to know that some certain things you do today might really haunt you so bad tomorrow. And her daughter is not a child. She is supposed to know what is good from what is bad. But like mother, like father, like mother, like daughter, and the other man, like father, like son, So looking at all the whole stories that played out, you all can see how some people feel about Black people, how like they absolutely feel like Black people are not humans, right? That, I mean, they are just bad people, And some of them have not even had anything to do with Black people. They've never had major encounter with Black people, but they have already, like, decided that, what I see on media or what I heard from people is true, And then coming to Team West, looking at how healthcare that would benefit both Black and white people is being withheld because they do not want people that look like me to have advantage of it or to enjoy it, because I don't see which one is abuse it. How do people abuse medical care and all that? It's really kind of crazy, but it is what it is. See you all in my next video. Let me know what you all think in the comment section. Bye for now.